Big life update. I got laid off yesterday. In all seriousness, yes, I did get laid off. Unfortunately, 12,000 people got laid off at Google yesterday. So if you didn't know that I worked at Google, I've been there for almost 4 years. I'm a technical recruiter, or I guess I should say I was a technical recruiter.
I was part of the Google layoff on Friday. I was working there for over 9 years. I'm also 6 months pregnant. This is decaf. This is not how I thought my career at Google would come to an end.
You know what? Let me tell you something. I was just laid off today by the Big Daddy G, that engineering software tool that everybody uses with 2 zeros in the middle of those G's, L-E, you know?
These Google layoffs were quite significant. To set the table for this was Google's strategy, is to make it so good to work there that you would never think of leaving, or it'd be very difficult to leave.
Yeah.
Google created the culture of entitlement in Silicon Valley. They said, let's make a campus. Let's provide Neiman Ranch steaks. Let's put an infinite swimming pool in and volleyball. You don't even have to grow up. You can be Peter Pan here, we'll give you dinner, go all in, and don't worry about doing any other work. It was cynical, right, to get you to work more. And it was also a result of them having a money printing machine. They never had to think about costs because, my Lord, so many people were using Google and so many people were clicking on ads that the spend for that business was largely irrelevant. For them to then cut people off was shocking to those people. But for the rest of the world, or even the rest of tech, a lot of people are watching this and going like, are these people for real?
All right, guys, so we got to talk about money and a lesson in capitalism and finance and the economy, right? Which is that in this world, the good times don't last forever, okay? And tech over the last probably 15 to 20 or so years has had some great times, okay? So great that a lot of these tech companies felt the need to go woke, right? They said, we're making so much money that we can simply alienate half the country with our political ideology that we're pushing on society. They made a whole lot of money off of fake valuations that are based off an economy that could not sustain itself in regards to free money, okay, being available for these companies to borrow and to basically bloat themselves endlessly, okay? It was an endless cycle of easy money coming from the federal government, right, in the form of low interest rates, being borrowed by these big tech companies, them using this money to grow and to create artificial demand for their products and services. They would take this money to buy tech startups from their friends, okay, at bloated valuations that don't really make sense. These companies don't really make money. And then, well, what happens when the money actually is not cheap anymore, right? When interest rates start to rise due to inflation and overstimulated demand, which causes the demand to fall, well, what happens? Well, the money printing stops, right? The money printing stops. It gets significantly more expensive to borrow money, which means economic activity slows down across the country, the globe, really. I mean, that's what's happening right now. And this is a case of you get what you vote for, because an overwhelming majority of these tech employees who are now being laid off, okay, we're facing the tech apocalypse here, are woke, right? They're overwhelmingly liberal. They donate to Democrats. And the reason why we have these big tech layoffs and this economy is facing a major recession, if not a depression, it's because of the reckless spending of the Biden administration that has caused inflation, forcing us to raise interest rates at a historical pace. And again, the woke tech workers that, contributed to the Democrat Party, that support Democrats, that support wokeness, right? They're now melting down because they've lost their jobs. In fact, take a look at this before and after of one tech worker that worked at Google, right? Her life before she got laid off and her life after she got laid off.
A day in my life working from the Google LA office. I always grab some candy from the reception before heading in. This used to be an old aircraft hangar, so the decorations hanging from the ceiling kind of looks like an aircraft flying in. Before it was a Google office, this aircraft hangar belonged to Howard Hughes, so there's tons of memorabilia. Next, I'm going to pass by these art installations. They're a really good photo op, or you can sit in there and get some work done. I'm going to head to the coffee shop to grab some coffee and a fruit cup since I missed breakfast, and then I'm heading over to this butterfly-themed room to take my first meeting. Then I'm going to head over to the confetti room to take my next meeting. It's so sparkly and beautiful in here. I love that a lot of our rooms are themed. Then I'm going to grab my two favorite drinks, which is this green tea and coconut water. Next, I'm going to go upstairs and grab some lunch. They always have pizza and a variety of different vegetables and meat. The food is always really good, and of course, everything you see in the office is free. On my way out of the cafe, I ran into a doogler, which is a dog googler, and ran into some ghosts. When they were renovating the office, there were a lot of spooky stories from the crew, so there's a whole area in the office where you can listen to them. Then I got more work done and headed over to the massage chairs to wrap up my day. Let me know what you want to see next.
A day in my life getting laid off at Google. So I woke up to this really ominous text from my boss, and I honestly had no idea what it was going to be about, so I called her the minute I woke up and saw this, and she told me to check the news and my email. So I rushed downstairs to find out that I had lost access to basically everything. I couldn't log into my email or even check my calendar. I called my boss back, and we just sobbed over the phone because she was also finding out about my layoff for the first time today too. I started getting calls from a bunch of my coworkers and started finding out who else was let go on my team and some neighboring teams as well. But I think the worst part is that it seems like no one was consulted on this decision and everyone was just finding out about the layoffs at the same time. It just felt like a really bad game of Russian roulette, and there was no consistency around who was let go. It was also not performance-based, so it just felt really random. I opened up LinkedIn, which honestly was not great for my mental health. There were so many people who were in the same boat that were both equally as shocked and blindsided, but it did help me feel a little less alone. Honestly, I spent so much of the day crying that I just felt so tired from being sad and wanted to do something that would just make me feel better. Luckily, I have an annual pass, so I headed over to Disneyland because I wanted to go eat my feelings. So I started off with a Cinnamon Galaxy churro and then went to the teriyaki turkey leg. This is a special limited edition item for the Lunar New Year celebration at Disney California Adventure. I had some Rice Krispie, a corn dog, did some drawing, and even had another churro. I don't really know what's next for me, but I'll be vlogging my journey and posting more content about it, so feel free to follow along.
Yeah, so again, sad story. I'm not celebrating this. Obviously, it is terrible when anybody loses their job, they get laid off. It sucks, okay? I mean, but the point of this video is to explain to you guys why this is happening. And it is not the conspiracies that are being perpetuated on the internet about why this is happening. Take a look.
This is a brilliant point, and you are so completely correct. But I just did a ton of digging, and I think it goes so much deeper than that. This is Chris Hahn, and he is a hedge fund billionaire. A letter to Google, to their parent company Alphabet, telling them to reduce their headcount and to start categorizing people as low performers. That's what the name of his hedge fund is. It's called the Children's Investment Fund, and it feels like it should be illegal for this guy to have an investment fund, a hedge fund, named this. It's currently worth $7.9 billion. Years ago, he was worth $5 billion, and 3 years ago, he was worth 3.9. So in 3 years, he has gone from $3.9 billion to 7.8. He has doubled his money in 3 years during the pandemic. You know what makes my blood boil about it? Google still made $14 billion in profit last quarter. It down from where it was a year ago. Yes. Is that still a ridiculous amount of profit? Yes. 10,000 people who live in the Bay Area, who probably live in the most expensive place in America with mortgages, families, whatever, are going to lose their jobs because a hedge fund billionaire worth $8 billion, who's doubled his money in the last 3 years, thinks he's just not going to make as much money as fast. And so he bullied a company making a shit ton of profit already into firing 10,000 people. That's insane.
Yeah, almost there, but not quite, right? The reason why he doubled his money in the last couple years is the same reason why these tech companies are now laying off workers. It's because, again, the federal government had interest rates at an all-time low, okay, while also spending an exorbitant, a record amount of money. They poured trillions of dollars into this economy, making these companies believe that, hey, we got all this money. We don't have to be careful how we spend it. We can just spend it on whatever. We can hire a bunch of people that we really don't need. We can invest in wokeness, diversity, and inclusion. All this stuff that does not have a positive return on investment until the money's not cheap anymore, right? Until you just can't borrow money without any real cost. And what happened is that now they realize that the economy is slowing down because money's not cheap anymore. So now you have their customers not willing to pay as much anymore. For example, companies aren't willing to pay Google as much in ads anymore. And how do I know this? Well, I know this because that's how I get paid, right? On YouTube. Okay. So yeah, I know, right? The economy's not doing well. Okay. Because companies are not spending money like they used to spend anymore because money's not cheap. Well, again, why is money not cheap? Well, money's not cheap because the Democrats decided to overspend, right? They overspent. And then they waited to the last minute. The feds waited to the last minute to raise interest rates to account for this spending and what it would do for inflation. Again, turns out that stimulus checks and, expanded unemployment, right? Paying people not to work, right? Shutting down an economy, okay? Working from home. It turns out all that stuff was not good in the long run, okay? Turns out it wasn't good in the long run. And these same people that advocated for this stuff, that voted for this stuff, they're the ones that are now being affected by it. Okay. I mean, at least, the pipeline workers, right? The Keystone Pipeline workers, they seem to take their layoffs from Joe Biden a lot better than these people, right? But it's not just Google. There have been over 70,000 employees that have been laid off from the big tech companies. As again, we have a big tech apocalypse here. Alphabet, 12,000 jobs cut. Microsoft, 10,000 jobs cut. Amazon, 18,000 jobs cut. Crypto.com, 500 jobs cut. Coinbase, 2,000 jobs cut. Salesforce, 7,000 jobs cut. Again, a lot of these companies actually don't really make money, right? They don't really make money. Meta, 11,000 jobs cut. Twitter, 3,700 jobs cut. But see, Elon was smart. You know how the mainstream liberal media was getting on Elon Musk for cutting half of Twitter's workforce because he knew that the company was bloated? Right? Especially considering how we're going into an environment where interest rates are rising as a tech company that doesn't make any money, who literally survives from borrowing money endlessly from the government. Elon Musk knew that, hey, we're going to have to cut jobs, right? We actually have to run this company like a real company, right? And the mainstream liberal media obliterated him for it. These same people in the mainstream liberal media that were crying because Twitter laid off half of their workforce under Elon Musk are silent on this, right? They're not criticizing Google and Apple and Facebook and all these other companies who are essentially doing the same thing that Elon Musk did, except they're doing it later, right? They're not doing it as fast as Elon Musk was doing it. Amazing how that works. Again, we are headed towards a major recession. We're already in a recession, okay? Don't let anybody fool you. But we're heading to a major recession that the mainstream liberal media will not be able to deny. We may even go into a depression. Okay, almost certainly we're going to have some type of crash in the market. Things about to come tumbling down hard under the Biden economy. And again, the people that have been affected here, big tech that is getting hit the hardest, okay, they all voted for it. But hey, no more orange man, right? No more orange man. The grown-ups in charge. Wokeness is here, right? Diversity, equity, and inclusion. Turns out that, again, all that stuff has a cost, okay? Free money ain't actually free, right? It's really not actually free. People got to learn this the hard way, and it sucks that the rest of the people in this country have to suffer because of these idiots voting for Democrats, right? Voting for reckless spending and these types of policies that ruin an economy. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.